First contact. The Starship Horizon cruised through the inky blackness of deep space, its powerful engines humming quietly as it carried its crew of 200 humans further from Earth than any manned vessel had ever ventured before. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the vast starfield stretching out before them. "Status report, Lieutenant Hayes," she called out, her voice calm, but tinged with the excitement of exploration. Lieutenant John Hayes, a young officer with a shock of red hair, looked up from his console. "All systems nominal, Captain. We're maintaining our course towards the Proxima Centauri system." Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. The Horizon's mission was one of peaceful exploration, seeking out new worlds and hopefully new civilizations. After centuries of looking to the stars and wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, they were finally taking steps to find out. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the bridge, startling the crew from their routine. "Captain," shouted Ensign Maria Rodriguez from the sensor station. "We're picking up an unusual energy signature dead ahead." Sarah's eyes narrowed as she focused on the main view screen. On screen, Ensign, maximum magnification. The star field on the screen shifted, zooming in on a distant point of light. As the image resolved, gasps echoed around the bridge. There, drifting silently through space, was an enormous vessel of clearly alien design. Its sleek, organic curves were unlike anything produced by human engineering. But what caught Sarah's attention most was the visible damage to the ship's hull, scorch marks, and gaping holes that spoke of a recent and violent encounter. "Life signs?" Sarah asked, her voice tense. John's fingers flew over his console. "Faint, but present, Captain. It looks like their life support systems are failing." Sarah's mind raced. This was first contact, the moment humanity had been preparing for since they first looked up at the stars. But it wasn't the triumphant meeting of civilizations they had imagined. Instead, they had stumbled upon a tragedy in progress. "Helm, bring us alongside that vessel," Sarah ordered. "Lieutenant Hayes, assemble a boarding party. Full environmental suits and universal translators. We're going to attempt a rescue." As the Horizon maneuvered closer to the alien ship, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. The unknown aliens could be hostile or carrying diseases harmful to humans, but the risk had to be taken. This was humanity's chance to prove itself on the galactic stage. The boarding party, led by Lieutenant Hayes, carefully made their way through the airlock and onto the alien vessel. Sarah watched their progress through the helmet cams, her heart pounding with each new revelation. The interior of the alien ship was a marvel of bioorganic technology, with pulsing lights running through what looked like living tissue. But signs of battle were everywhere, scorch marks on the walls, debris floating in the zero-gravity environment. "Captain," John's voice crackled through the comm, "we found survivors. They're incredible." The camera feed switched to show a group of alien beings huddled in what appeared to be a sealed chamber. They were humanoid, but with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors like the surface of a soap bubble. Their large, almond-shaped eyes regarded the humans with a mix of fear and hope. One of the aliens stepped forward, its movements graceful despite obvious injuries. It raised a six-fingered hand in what seemed to be a gesture of peace. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. This was it, humanity's first interaction with an alien species. "Lieutenant," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "extend the hand of friendship. Let them know we're here to help." John nodded, slowly extending his own hand to mirror the alien's gesture. For a moment, human and alien stood face to face, hands outstretched. Then, with aching slowness, they touched. A ripple of bioluminescence ran through the alien's skin at the contact, and its large eyes blinked rapidly. It made a series of melodic chirps and trills that the universal translator struggled to decipher. Peace, help, grateful, the translator finally managed to piece together. "We're here to help," John said clearly, hoping the aliens could understand. "Your ship is badly damaged. We can offer medical assistance and repairs." The alien's colors shifted to a soft blue, and it nodded in a surprisingly human-like gesture. It turned to its companions and made a series of rapid chirps. The other aliens seemed to relax slightly, some even attempting to mimic the human gesture of a wave. "Captain," John reported, "I think they're agreeing to come aboard the Horizon. Their life support is critical. We need to evacuate them immediately." Sarah nodded, already moving to prepare the Horizon for their new guests. "Understood, Lieutenant. Bring them home." As the rescue operation began in earnest, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in her crew and in humanity as a whole. Their first encounter with an alien species had been one of compassion and aid. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they had made a good first impression on the galactic stage. The Horizon's medical bay was soon bustling with activity as the alien survivors were brought aboard. Dr. Emily Sato, the ship's chief medical officer, worked tirelessly to assess and treat the injured aliens, marveling at their unique biology. "Captain," she reported excitedly, "their cellular structure is fascinating. They seem to have a form of bioluminescent communication at the cellular level, and their ability to change skin color isn't just cosmetic. It appears to be tied to their emotional state and even serves some immune function." Sarah listened with interest, but remained focused on the larger picture. "That's incredible, Doctor. But will they survive?" Emily nodded confidently. "With proper care, yes. Their biology is different from ours, but the basics of trauma care still apply. We're already seeing improvement in the less severely injured individuals." As the day wore on, the mood on the Horizon shifted from tense excitement to cautious optimism. The alien survivors were stabilizing, and attempts at communication were slowly bearing fruit. Sarah stood before the viewscreen, watching as the Horizon's tractor beams carefully maneuvered the damaged alien vessel into one of their larger cargo bays for examination and potential repair. She couldn't help but feel that this was the beginning of something momentous, a new chapter in human history. "Captain," John called from his station, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's Fleet Admiral Yamamoto." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. It was time to report their incredible discovery to Earth. As she prepared to face her superiors and share news that would change humanity forever, she glanced around at her crew, humans who had just made first contact, who had extended a helping hand to a species from beyond the stars. Whatever came next, Sarah knew that humanity had passed its first test. They had chosen compassion over fear, aid over aggression, and in doing so, they had taken their first steps into a larger, more wondrous universe than they had ever imagined. Rescue mission. The Horizon hummed with nervous energy as the crew prepared for the most ambitious rescue operation in human history. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the ship's largest cargo bay, watching as her engineering team retrofitted the space into a makeshift alien habitat. "How's it coming, Chief?" Sarah asked, turning to her chief engineer, Raj Patel. Raj wiped sweat from his brow, his dark skin glistening under the bay's bright lights. "It's a challenge, Captain. We're making progress. We've adjusted the atmospheric composition based on Dr. Sato's analysis of the alien's biology. Temperature and gravity are being fine-tuned as we speak." Sarah nodded, impressed by her crew's ingenuity. "Good work. We need to make our guests as comfortable as possible." As if on cue, Dr. Emily Sato's voice came over the comm. "Captain, our first group of alien patients is ready for transfer to the new habitat. They're stable, but still weak. We'll need to monitor them closely." "Understood, Doctor. We're ready to receive them," Sarah replied, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The cargo bay doors opened, and a procession of hover gurneys floated in, each carrying an alien passenger. Sarah watched in awe as the iridescent beings were carefully moved into their new temporary home. One of the aliens, whom the crew had started calling Azure due to the predominant blue hue of its skin, seemed more alert than the others. As it was settled into the habitat, its large, expressive eyes locked onto Sarah's. To everyone's surprise, Azure began to emit a series of melodic trills and clicks. The universal translator, still struggling with a complex alien language, managed to piece together a few words: gratitude, saviors, humans, friends. Sarah stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. Yes, we are friends. We're here to help you and your people. Azure's skin rippled with a wave of soft purple, which Dr. Sato had theorized might indicate positive emotions. The alien extended a six-fingered hand towards Sarah, mimicking the gesture of peace that Lieutenant Hayes had shown earlier. As Sarah reached out to complete the gesture, a sudden alarm blared through the ship. Lieutenant Hayes' voice came urgently over the comm. "Captain, to the bridge immediately. We've detected multiple ships approaching at high speed." Sarah's blood ran cold. Had they been followed? Were these the attackers who had damaged the alien vessel? She turned to Raj, her expression grave. "Secure the habitat and increase security. I want our guests protected at all costs." With a last glance at Azure, whose colors had shifted to a worried gray, Sarah sprinted towards the bridge. As she burst onto the command deck, the main view screen showed a terrifying sight. 3 massive ships, their designs as alien as their rescued guests, but far more menacing, were bearing down on the horizon. "Report," Sarah barked, sliding into her command chair. John Hayes, his face pale with tension, responded quickly. 3 vessels of unknown configuration, Captain. They're not responding to hails. Weapons signatures detected. They're charging up. Sarah's mind raced. The Horizon was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They were outgunned and outnumbered, but they couldn't abandon their new alien friends, nor could they let these aggressive forces get their hands on human technology. "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah ordered. "Ensign Rodriguez, send out a distress call to Earth. Lieutenant Hayes, ready what defensive systems we have. We need to buy time." The Horizon shuddered as it executed a tight turn, narrowly avoiding the first barrage of energy weapons from the approaching ships. The battle had begun, and humanity's first foray into interstellar diplomacy had turned into a fight for survival. As the ship rocked under enemy fire, Sarah made a decision. "Lieutenant, get me ship-wide comms." "You're on, Captain," John replied, his fingers dancing over his console. Sarah took a deep breath, her voice ringing out through every deck of the ship. "Attention all hands. As you're aware, we're under attack by unknown forces, likely the same ones who damaged our alien guest's vessel. We are outgunned, but not outmatched. Every one of you represents the best of humanity, our curiosity, our compassion, and our unwavering spirit. Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for those we've sworn to protect. Stand fast, crew of the Horizon. Show these aggressors what humanity is made of." A chorus of cheers echoed through the ship, boosting morale even as another blast rocked the Horizon. In the alien habitat, Azure and its companions watched in growing distress as the ship shuddered around them. The universal translator, still working to decipher their complex language, picked up fragments of their agitated communication. Harvesters, destroy, consume. Dr. Sato, who had remained with the aliens, relayed this information to the bridge. "Captain, I think our guests know these attackers. They're calling them harvesters and seem terrified." Sarah's jaw clenched. Whatever these harvesters were, they were a threat not just to the aliens they'd rescued, but potentially to Earth itself. They had to be stopped. "Raj," she called over the comm, "I need options. Can we use the alien ship's technology to boost our defenses?" There was a moment of silence, then Raj's excited voice came through. "Captain, I think we can do one better. The alien ship's power core is still intact. If we can interface it with our systems, we might be able to create an energy pulse strong enough to disable the attacking ships." It was a risky plan, full of unknowns, but it was the best shot they had. "Do it," Sarah ordered. "Hayes, coordinate with engineering. I want that pulse ready as soon as possible. As the Horizon continued its desperate evasive maneuvers, Raj and his team worked feverishly to integrate the alien technology. In the habitat, Azure and the other aliens, sensing the humans' desperation, began to assist despite their weakened state. Their knowledge, combined with human ingenuity, might just save them all. Minutes felt like hours as the battle raged on. The Horizon's shields were failing, and hull breaches were reported on multiple decks. But just as it seemed all hope was lost, Raj's triumphant voice rang out, "Captain, we're ready." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Fire the pulse." A blinding flash of energy erupted from the horizon, engulfing the attacking ships. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still. Then, one by one, the harvester ships went dark, their weapons and engines disabled by the powerful pulse. A cheer went up across the horizon. They had done it. Against all odds, this crew of explorers had defeated a superior force and protected their new alien friends. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. They had faced their first major interstellar crisis and emerged victorious. But she knew this was just the beginning. There were questions to be answered, alliances to be forged, and a galaxy of wonders and dangers to explore. The Horizon had taken humanity's first steps into a larger universe, and there was no turning back now. Cultural exchange. In the days following the battle with the Harvesters, an air of cautious optimism settled over the Horizon. The immediate danger had passed, but Captain Sarah Chen knew that their adventure was far from over. As the ship limped towards the nearest human outpost for repairs, a new challenge emerged, fostering understanding between humans and their alien guests. Sarah stood in the observation lounge, watching as Azure, the alien who had become their primary point of contact, engaged in an animated conversation with Dr. Emily Sato. The universal translator had made significant progress in deciphering the alien's language, which they now knew was called Luminary. "It's fascinating," Emily was saying, her eyes alight with scientific curiosity. "Their language isn't just verbal, it's a complex interplay of sounds, colors, and bioluminescent patterns. We're only scratching the surface of their communication." Azure's skin rippled with shades of green and gold, a display that the crew had come to associate with excitement or pleasure. "We are grateful for your efforts," the alien said, its melodic voice translated into slightly stilted English. "Your species, so different, yet so similar." Sarah stepped forward, drawing their attention. "Azure, we're honored to learn from you and your people. We have so many questions about your civilization, your technology, and the threat we faced together." Azure's colors dimmed slightly, shifting to cooler tones. "The Harvesters," it said, the translator struggling to convey the mix of fear and anger in its voice. "They are consumers of worlds. They attacked our home, Lumina, without warning. We fled, but many were lost." Sarah felt a pang of sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Azure. Please know that Earth stands with you. We'll do everything in our power to help." Azure's colors brightened again, a wave of warm hues washing over its iridescent skin. "Your kindness, unexpected. In our darkest hour, we found friends among the stars." As the days passed, the cultural exchange between humans and Luminary deepened. The aliens, growing stronger under Dr. Sato's care, began to share more about their society and technology. In return, the humans offered knowledge of Earth and its history. Lieutenant John Hayes found himself particularly fascinated by Luminary technology. He spent hours in the cargo bay where the alien ship was docked, working alongside Azure and Raj to understand its systems. "This is incredible," John muttered, examining a piece of the ship's bioorganic circuitry. "It's like the ship is alive, adapting and healing itself." Azure trilled softly, a sound the translator interpreted as amusement. "All life is connected," it explained. "On Lumina, we do not see technology as separate from nature. We grow our ships, nurture them. They are extensions of ourselves." Raj shook his head in wonder. This could revolutionize our own technology. The applications for medicine, space travel, even environmental restoration, it's mind-boggling. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural misunderstandings were frequent and sometimes comical. During a shared meal in the mess hall, Ensign Maria Rodriguez nearly caused a diplomatic incident by offering a luminary a fork. The alien, confused by the metal implement, had interpreted it as some sort of ritual challenge. Sarah had to stifle a laugh as she smoothed over the situation, explaining the concept of human-eating utensils. The luminary, who absorbed nutrients directly through their skin, found the idea both bizarre and fascinating. As the cultural exchange progressed, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on the magnitude of what they were experiencing. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, first contact with an alien civilization. But instead of the triumphant meeting of equals they had imagined, they had stumbled into a galaxy already embroiled in conflict. One evening, as the Horizon cruised through the star-studded void, Sarah found Azure in the observation lounge, its gaze fixed on the distant pinpricks of light. "Azure," she said softly, not wanting to startle the alien, "may I join you?" The luminary's skin shimmered with a gentle blue welcome. "Of course, Captain, I was remembering Lumina. The forests of light, the singing seas. I fear I may never see them again." Sarah felt a lump in her throat. Despite their alien nature, the luminary's capacity for emotion, for love of home and family, was profoundly familiar. "We'll find a way, Azure. Humanity is new to the galactic stage, but we're not without resources. We'll help you reclaim your home." Azure turned its large, expressive eyes to Sarah. "You would do this? Risk your people for ours?" Sarah nodded firmly. "That's what friends do. Besides, the harvesters are a threat to all of us. We stand a better chance facing them together." A cascade of warm colors washed over Azure's skin, and to Sarah's surprise, the alien reached out and took her hand in its own six-fingered grip. The touch sent a tingling sensation up Sarah's arm, a feeling of connection that transcended species. "Then let us forge an alliance," Azure said, its voice filled with hope. Luminary and human, united against the darkness. As Sarah clasped Azure's hand, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. This moment, this connection, would shape the future of both their species. It was a responsibility she never expected to bear, but one she embraced wholeheartedly. The Horizon continued its journey, carrying within it the seeds of a new interstellar alliance. There were still many challenges ahead, explaining their discoveries to Earth, preparing for the looming threat of the harvesters, and navigating the complex waters of interspecies diplomacy. But as Sarah looked at Azure, saw the hope and trust in its alien eyes, she knew that they had taken the first crucial steps towards a brighter future. Humanity had reached for the stars and found not just wonders, but friends. Whatever trials lay ahead, they would face them together, united by bonds that stretched across the cosmos. The adventure was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. Looming threat. The Horizon's return to Earth was met with a mixture of awe, excitement, and trepidation. As the ship docked at the orbital station, Captain Sarah Chen could see the flashes of countless cameras from the observation windows. News of their alien encounter and the subsequent battle with the harvesters had spread like wildfire, and the world was eager for answers. Sarah stood at the airlock, Azure by her side. The luminary's skin shimmered with nervous anticipation, a swirl of purples and silvers that the crew had come to recognize as a sign of anxiety. "Are you ready for this?" Sarah asked softly. Azure's large eyes blinked rapidly, a gesture they had picked up from the humans. "I am uncertain. Your world is so vast, so diverse. Will they accept us?" Sarah placed a reassuring hand on Azure's shoulder, feeling the slight tingle of the alien's bioluminescent communication. "They will. Humanity has dreamed of this moment for centuries. There will be challenges, but we'll face them together." As the airlock cycled open, they were greeted by a delegation of Earth's highest-ranking officials. At the forefront stood Fleet Admiral Yamamoto, his weathered face a mask of professional calm. "Captain Chen," he said, his voice carrying a hint of awe, "you and your crew have done humanity proud." And to our honored guests, he turned to Azure and the small group of luminari behind them, "Welcome to Earth. We have much to discuss." The following weeks were a whirlwind of debriefings, scientific exchanges, and diplomatic negotiations. The luminaries' story of their flight from the harvesters sent shockwaves through Earth's governments. The threat was real, and it was coming. In a high-security conference room deep within the United Earth Defense Headquarters, Sarah found herself facing a panel of military and political leaders. Azure stood beside her, their presence a testament to the new alliance forming between their species. "The harvesters aren't just a threat to the luminary," Sarah explained, her voice firm. "They're planet killers, consuming resources and moving on. Earth is as much a target as Lumina was." Admiral Yamamoto leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "What do we know about their capabilities, their weaknesses?" Azure's skin pulsed with deep reds and oranges, colors of warning and urgency. "The harvesters are relentless. Their ships, vast and numerous. But they are not invincible. The energy pulse we created together proved that." Dr. Emily Sato, who had been invited to the meeting for her expertise on luminary biology, spoke up. "We've been studying the remnants of harvester technology from the disabled ships. It's incredibly advanced, but we're making progress in understanding it. With the luminaries' help, we might be able to develop more effective countermeasures." The room buzzed with tense energy as strategies were proposed and debated. It was clear that Earth's defenses, while formidable, were not prepared for a threat of this magnitude. The alliance with the luminary wasn't just a diplomatic coup, it was a necessity for survival. As the meeting wore on, Sarah found her thoughts drifting to the crew of the Horizon. They had been hailed as heroes upon their return, but she knew the real challenges were just beginning. The fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders. Weeks turned into months as Earth mobilized for the coming threat. The Horizon, refitted and upgraded with a blend of human and luminary technology, became the flagship of a new joint defense fleet. Sarah, promoted to Commodore, found herself at the center of humanity's preparations for war. One evening, as she stood in the Horizon's newly expanded observation lounge, Sarah felt a familiar presence beside her. Azure's skin glowed softly in the dim light, a calming blue that belied the tension they both felt. "Your people have accomplished much in so little time," Azure said, their English now fluent after months of intensive learning. "We never imagined finding such allies when we fled our home." Sarah smiled, but it was tinged with sadness. "We're fighting for our survival, just as you are, but it's more than that now. Your people, your culture, they've become part of us. We're not just allies, we're friends." Azure's skin rippled with warm gold, a sign of deep emotion. "Friends," they repeated, the word carrying weight beyond its simple meaning. "Sarah, there's something we've been working on, something that might turn the tide against the harvesters." Sarah turned, her interest piqued. "What is it?" "A weapon," Azure said, their voice low. "Or perhaps a shield. We're not sure yet. It's based on the energy pulse we used before, but on a much larger scale. If it works, it could disable entire harvester fleets." Hope surged in Sarah's chest, but she tempered it with caution. "That sounds incredible, but also incredibly dangerous. The power requirements alone." Azure nodded, their skin flickering with shades of concern. "It would require the combined energy output of both our species' largest power plants. And there are risks. To the users, to space-time itself. We're dealing with forces we barely understand." Sarah's mind raced with the implications. A weapon of that magnitude could save them all, or doom them if it went wrong. It was a desperate gamble, but in the face of extinction, what choice did they have? "We need to bring this to the Joint Defense Council," Sarah said, her voice filled with determination. "If there's even a chance it could work, we have to pursue it." As they turned to leave the observation lounge, a shrill alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Lieutenant Hayes' voice came over the comm, tight with urgency. "Commodore, to the bridge, immediately. We're detecting multiple harvester signatures at the edge of the solar system. They're here." Sarah and Azure shared a look of grim understanding. The future they had feared and prepared for had arrived. As they raced to the bridge, Sarah's mind whirled with a mixture of fear and resolve. The greatest battle in Earth's history was about to begin, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The looming threat had become a present danger, and the time for preparation was over. Now it was time to fight. Preparing for battle. The Horizon's bridge was a flurry of activity as Sarah and Azure burst in. The main view screen displayed a terrifying sight. A vast armada of harvester ships, their dark, angular forms a stark contrast to the beauty of the solar system they threatened. "Report," Sarah barked, sliding into her command chair. Lieutenant Hayes, his face pale but determined, responded quickly. "Multiple harvester signatures detected, Commodore. At least 50 capital ships, with hundreds of smaller craft. They're holding position just beyond Neptune's orbit." Sarah's mind raced. The joint Earth luminary fleet was formidable, but they were outnumbered. "Send word to Earth Defense Command. Initiate Protocol Omega. We need every ship we've got." As alerts went out across the solar system, Sarah turned to Azure. "We're out of time. That weapon you mentioned, how close is it to being operational?" Azure's skin pulsed with urgent reds and oranges. "The prototype is ready but untested. Dr. Sato and our scientists are making final adjustments now." Sarah nodded grimly. "It may be our only hope. Have them prepare it for deployment. We'll only get one shot at this." As the crew of the Horizon prepared for battle, similar scenes played out across Earth and its colonies. Civilian ships were evacuated to hardened shelters, while military vessels took up defensive positions. The Luminari, their bioluminescent ships a stark contrast to the utilitarian designs of Earth's fleet, moved into formation alongside their human allies. In the depths of the Horizon, Dr. Emily Sato worked feverishly alongside a team of human and luminary scientists. The weapon they were developing, dubbed Project Starfall, was a marvel of cross-species collaboration. It combined luminary bioorganic technology with human quantum physics in ways neither species had thought possible. "The power core was stable," Emily reported, her voice tense with concentration. "But the targeting system is still glitchy. We need more time." "Time is the one thing we don't have, Doctor." Sarah's voice crackled over the comm. "Do what you can. We'll have to roll the dice with what we've got." As the hours ticked by, the tension across the solar system ratcheted up to an almost unbearable level. The harvesters remained ominously stationary, as if savoring the fear they inspired. On the Horizon's bridge, Sarah stood before her crew, Azure at her side. The aliens' presence had become a comfort, a symbol of the unlikely alliance that now stood as humanity's best hope. "I won't lie to you," Sarah began, her voice carrying to every corner of the ship. "We face a threat unlike any in human history. The harvesters have destroyed worlds, consumed entire civilizations, but they've never faced anything like us before." She paused, looking each crew member in the eye. Humanity and Luminary, two species from distant stars, united in the face of annihilation. We bring not just our weapons to this fight, but our courage, our ingenuity, and our unwavering spirit. Today, we fight not just for Earth or Lumina, but for the right of all sentient beings to exist free from tyranny and fear. A chorus of cheers erupted from the crew, human and luminary voices blending in a sound of defiance and hope. As Sarah retook her seat, Azure leaned in close. "Your words give strength, Sarah, but I fear it may not be enough. The harvesters, they do not feel fear or mercy. They only consume." Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to make them feel something new. Defeat." Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Commodore," Lieutenant Hayes called out. The Harvester fleet is moving. They're accelerating towards Mars. Sarah's jaw clenched. This is it. All ships, battle formations. Initiate Defense Plan Alpha, and get me a status update on Project Starfall. As the joint fleet moved to intercept the Harvesters, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Human and Luminary ships flew side by side, their differences set aside in the face of a common enemy. It was a sight she never thought she'd see, two species from distant stars united in battle. The first shots were fired as the fleets clashed near the orbit of Mars. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes crisscrossed the void, turning the blackness of space into a deadly light show. The horizon shuddered under enemy fire, its shields straining against the onslaught. Evasive maneuvers, Sarah ordered. Concentrate fire on their lead ships. We need to disrupt their formation. The battle raged on, a desperate struggle against overwhelming odds. For every Harvester ship they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. The defenders fought with everything they had, but Sarah could see they were slowly being pushed back. "Commodore," Dr. Sato's voice came over the comm, breathless with excitement and fear. "Project Starfall is ready, but there's a catch. We need to be much closer to the center of the Harvester fleet for it to be effective." Sarah's heart raced. This was it, their one shot at turning the tide. But to get close enough, they'd have to punch through the heart of the enemy armada. It was practically a suicide mission. She turned to Azure, seeing her own mix of fear and determination mirrored in the alien's eyes. "Are you with me?" she asked softly. Azure's skin pulsed with a fierce, determined blue. "Until the end, my friend." Sarah nodded, then turned to address her crew. "All hands, this is the Commodore. We're initiating Operation Starfall. It's going to be a rough ride, but the fate of both our worlds depends on its success. Whatever happens, know that it has been my greatest honor to serve with each and every one of you." As the horizon turned towards the center of the Harvester fleet, Sarah felt a strange calm settle over her. They were about to attempt the impossible, to risk everything on one desperate gamble. But as she looked around at her crew, human and luminary working side by side, she knew that whatever the outcome, they had already achieved something miraculous. The horizon accelerated, plunging into the heart of the enemy fleet. The final battle for Earth, for Lumina, for the very future of two civilizations, was about to begin. Final confrontation. The horizon plunged into the maelstrom of battle, its engines straining as it weaved through the dense formation of Harvester ships. Energy beams and debris filled the space around them, each near miss a reminder of how precarious their situation was. Shields at 60% and falling. Lieutenant Hayes called out, his voice tight with tension. "We can't take much more of this, Commodore." Sarah gripped her command chair, her knuckles white. "Divert all non-essential power to shields and engines. We need to get closer." Azure stood beside her, their skin pulsing with a mix of determination and fear. The alien's six-fingered hands danced over a console, coordinating with the luminary ships that formed a protective barrier around the horizon. "Sarah," Azure said, that a voice carrying an urgent tone, "the Harvesters are adapting to our tactics. They're trying to box us in." As if to emphasize Azure's point, a massive Harvester vessel loomed before them, its weapon ports glowing with ominous energy. "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah shouted. "Raj, we need more power." The ship lurched to the side, narrowly avoiding a devastating blast. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Raj Patel worked frantically, pushing the hybrid human-luminary systems to their limits. "I'm giving her all she's got, Commodore." Raj's voice crackled over the comm. "Any more and we'll tear ourselves apart." The horizon shuddered under another impact, and warning klaxons blared across the bridge. Sarah knew they were running out of time. They needed to get Project Starfall into position, or all would be lost. "Dr. Sato," Sarah called out, "status on Starfall." Emily's voice came back, strained but determined. "We're ready, Commodore. But we need to be at least 500 kilometers closer to the center of their fleet for optimal effect. Sarah's mind raced. They were so close, but those 500 kilometers might as well have been light years with the intensity of the Harvester's defenses. Suddenly, Azure's skin flashed with a brilliant idea. Sarah, the Luminari ships. We can create a bioluminescent burst to temporarily blind the Harvester's sensors. It was a desperate plan, but they were out of options. Sarah nodded grimly. Do it. Azure sent out the command, and in an instant, the space around them exploded in a dazzling display of light. The Harvester ships, their sensors overwhelmed, faltered in their attack. Now's our chance, Sarah shouted. Full power to engines. Get us into position. The Horizon surged forward, pushing through the disoriented Harvester fleet. On the view screen, Sarah could see the massive form of a Harvester command ship, their primary target. We're in position, Lieutenant Hayes called out, 500 kilometers from the enemy command ship. Sarah took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of two civilizations. Dr. Saito, initiate Project Starfall. In the heart of the Horizon, Emily and her team activated the experimental weapon. The ship trembled as unprecedented amounts of energy coursed through its systems. A beam of pure, blinding energy erupted from the horizon, engulfing the Harvester command ship. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still. Then, like a ripple in a pond, the energy spread outward, washing over the entire Harvester fleet. The effect was immediate and stunning. Harvester ships began to power down, their weapons going dark and their engines failing. The massive command ship, the epicenter of the blast, began to break apart, great fissures appearing in its hull. It's working. Azure cried out, their skin a kaleidoscope of jubilant colors. The Harvesters are falling. But their celebration was short-lived. The Horizon groaned ominously, its systems overloading from the immense energy discharge. Commodore, Raj's panicked voice came over the comm. The core is going critical. We need to evacuate now. Sarah's heart sank. They had won the battle, but at what cost? All hands, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. As the crew scrambled to evacuate, Sarah remained on the bridge, coordinating the retreat. Azure stood by her side, refusing to leave. Sarah, we must go, Azure pleaded, their skin pulsing with concern. Sarah shook her head. Not until everyone else is off. I won't abandon my crew. The ship shuddered violently, pieces of the ceiling beginning to fall around them. As the last escape pod launched, Sarah finally allowed Azure to lead her towards their own pod. They were meters away when a final explosion rocked the ship, sending them tumbling. Sarah felt a sharp pain in her leg as debris pinned her down. Go, she shouted to Azure. Save yourself. But Azure's response was unwavering. Their skin glowed with a fierce, determined blue as they used their strength to lift the debris. Not without you, my friend. With a final surge of effort, they freed Sarah and half-carried her to the last escape pod. As they jettisoned away, they watched through the viewport as the Horizon, the ship that had brought their two species together, erupted in a final, brilliant explosion. In the aftermath of the battle, as rescue ships picked up the survivors, the full scale of their victory became clear. The Harvester threat had been neutralized, their fleet reduced to drifting wreckage. Aboard the Earth Defense Command ship that rescued them, Sarah and Azure stood side by side, watching as the remnants of the battle slowly dispersed into the vast emptiness of space. We did it, Sarah said softly, her voice filled with a mix of relief and sorrow for the lives lost. Azure's skin shimmered with a gentle, comforting blue. Yes, we did. Together. As they turned away from the viewport, Sarah realized that this wasn't just the end of the battle, it was the beginning of a new era. Humanity and the Luminari, once strangers across the cosmic void, were now inextricably linked. Their shared struggle and triumph had forged bonds that would reshape the galaxy. The threat of the Harvesters was gone, But the adventure was far from over. There was a galaxy to explore, alliances to forge, and a future to build together. Sarah smiled at Azure, feeling a sense of hope and excitement for what lay ahead. "So, my friend," she said, "where shall we go next?" Azure's skin rippled with colors of joy and anticipation. "Wherever it is, Sarah, we'll face it as one. The stars await us." As the rescue ship turned towards Earth, carrying the heroes of two worlds, the vastness of space seemed a little less empty, a little less daunting. For in the crucible of battle, humanity had found not just allies, but friends among the stars. The future, with all its challenges and wonders, was theirs to shape together. The end of one chapter and the beginning of a grand new adventure in the cosmos.